There's a hidden path in the spiritual world, one that few ever speak of, at least not openly. It doesn't revolve around light, peace, or ascension in the traditional sense. Instead, this path is darker, heavier, more intense, and yet, paradoxically, it is also more real than anything you've ever known. If you've been encountering the same energies over and over, energies that feel ancient, chaotic, magnetic, and terrifyingly powerful, know this: you are not broken. You are not cursed. You are not lost. You might in fact be something far rarer, a dark chosen one. And if that phrase strikes a chord deep in your chest, if your body reacts before your mind can even grasp its meaning, then on some level you already know it's true. This is not a message for the masses. It is a transmission for the few, the souls forged not in the light, but in shadow. Not to be consumed by the dark, but to master it. Let me explain. Most people believe that spiritual awakening is supposed to be peaceful, calming, even blissful. And for many it is. But for others, for us, the awakening is violent. It doesn't soothe, it burns. It doesn't confirm who we thought we were, it dismantles everything. It drags us through the sludge of our trauma, through buried rage, through the ancestral pain we've inherited like chains. It does not feel like love at first. It feels like death. And that is because we were not chosen to bypass the pain. We were chosen to embody it. We carry a specific frequency, one that does not run from darkness, but walks into it with eyes wide open. We weren't sent here to float in the clouds. We were sent to plunge into the depths where others fear to tread, because only we have the capacity to retrieve what's hidden there. If you felt those energies pulsing through you time and time again, waves of overwhelming emotion arriving without warning, sudden rage or grief that doesn't even feel like it's yours, dreams that play like memories from another lifetime, or an inexplicable pull toward chaos or destruction, not because you desire to destroy, but because you sense something sacred within the ruins, then you are walking the path of the dark chosen. You are not here to escape the shadow. You are here to understand it, to integrate it, and to become the bridge between worlds. But what does that truly mean, to be a bridge between worlds? It means you weren't chosen to be a symbol of purity or perfection. You were chosen to be a warrior of truth. You've been entrusted with energies so potent, so ancient, that most people couldn't hold them without being consumed. You've likely noticed how sensitive you are, not fragile, but profoundly receptive. You walk into a room and instantly feel the tension, the secrets, the pain that no one dares to speak aloud. You look into someone's eyes and immediately sense what they're hiding. You can't pretend. You can't lie. You can't shrink yourself to fit in. You've tried, and every time you do, your soul revolts. That isn't a flaw. That's your design. Yet here lies the challenge. The world doesn't understand the dark chosen ones. We are misunderstood, mislabeled, feared, and rejected. People feel our power, but they don't know how to interpret it. They sense our intensity and assume we're angry, unstable, manipulative, but they don't realize that we are mirrors, reflecting what others refuse to see within themselves. We hold space for the emotions and truths that others bury, and that's why just our presence can trigger them. It's not personal, it's energetic. And the more you try to dim your light to make others comfortable, the more you will suffer. So what do you do with all this? You stop running, you stop apologizing, you stop questioning a path that has already chosen you. You start listening to the energies that visit you in the night, to the emotions that surge through your body, to the dreams that make no sense yet feel more real than waking life. You begin to see your darkness not as a curse, but as a compass. You let it guide you not into destruction, but into depth, into truth, into power. Let me tell you something most spiritual teachers are afraid to say out loud. The light is only half the story. The universe is not made of light alone. It is also shadow. It is creation and destruction, birth and death, fire and ash. You were not chosen to flee from the dark. You were chosen to remember it, to carry it consciously, to transform it through your presence. That is alchemy. And the dark chosen ones, people like you, are the alchemists of the human experience. But how do we survive this path? That's the real question. Because the road of the dark chosen one is not paved with ease. It tests you. It breaks you open. It isolates you. You will lose people. You will lose identities, versions of yourself you once clung to. There will be days when you look into the mirror and no longer recognize your own eyes. And yet, here lies the paradox. The more you lose, the more you become. Every time the darkness strips something away, it's creating space for a deeper, more authentic version of you to rise. Each moment you sit with your pain instead of fleeing from it, you earn a clarity no one can ever take from you. Every time you turn to face what terrifies you, you reclaim a piece of your soul that was once hidden behind fear. And slowly, you begin to feel different. Not just emotionally, but energetically. You begin to feel like both a storm and a still lake. You can walk into chaos and remain untouched. You can hold space for someone's breakdown without being pulled into it. You can stand in the middle of lies and still speak the truth. That is the gift of the dark chosen ones. We don't merely survive the dark, we become immune to it. Not because we avoid it, but because we've mastered it. And mastery doesn't mean control. It means trust. It means you trust the energies moving through you, even when they defy logic. It means you trust your emotional waves, your body, your intuition, because your body is not just flesh, it is a sacred instrument. So when those dark energies rise again and again, don't resist them. Sit with them, ask them, what are you here to show me? Because they're not random, they're messengers. They are old codes, ancient memories, forgotten truths embedded in your bones. And they're knocking at the door of your consciousness saying, it's time. Time to stop pretending that you're here to be normal. Time to stop denying the part of you that sees through illusion. Time to stop shrinking your energy to fit into spaces that were never built to hold your truth. Time to stop playing the role of a light worker when you were born to be a shadow walker. It is time to stop looking for permission to be who you already are. So I ask you now, with all the fire of my soul, what if your darkness is not the enemy? What if it's the map? What if everything you've been taught to feel ashamed of, your intensity, your depth, your rage, your grief, isn't your weakness, but your calling card? What if your greatest power has always been hidden inside the very parts of yourself you were told to suppress or fear? And what if, just what if, the world is starving for that power right now? Look around. The old systems are crumbling, the masks are falling, illusions are shattering, and beneath it all, something ancient is rising. Not just the light, but the balance, the truth, the divine totality. And you, my friend, are a vessel for that totality. You were meant to walk between worlds, to speak the unspeakable, to see what others can't, to feel what others numb, and to transmute it all, not by fixing it, but by sitting with it so completely that it loses all power to control you. This is not easy work. It requires courage, discipline, and presence. But above all, it requires love. Not the soft, fluffy kind, but the kind of love that sits in the fire and says, burn me until only truth remains. That is the love of a dark chosen one. That is your love. And if you've felt these energies again and again, it's not because you're broken. It's because your soul is ancient. Your mission is urgent. And the universe trusts you with the shadow just as much as it trusts others with the light. So the real question becomes, are you willing to accept that trust? Because in the part that follows, we go even deeper. We begin exploring how to not only survive these dark energies, but how to use them. To create, to heal, to lead. We'll talk about how to channel your shadow into magic, how to hold your power without being consumed by it, and how to unlock the deepest spiritual codes that lie hidden inside your emotional storms. Channeling the dark, turning shadow energy into your most potent spiritual weapon. If you're still here, still reading, still breathing with this truth, still letting it move through your bones, then you're not just curious, you're ready. You've felt it, haven't you? The pull, the flood, the presence of something ancient and unnameable surging through your chest like an invisible storm. You've felt the darkness not just around you, but within you. And you've never been comfortable pretending it wasn't there. That's what makes you different. You're not trying to run from the shadow, you're trying to understand it. And maybe, just maybe, you're starting to realize that the very thing you were taught to fear is the very thing that makes you powerful. This is where things get real. This is where the dark chosen ones stop hiding and start channeling. Because once you stop fearing the dark energies and start listening to them, something incredible happens. They become fuel. They become fire. They become your greatest spiritual weapon. So let's begin with truth. Real, raw, uncomfortable truth. The world you live in is built on lies. Lies of separation, lies of suppression, lies of illusion. From the moment you were born, you were taught to fear your intensity. Your feelings were labeled too much. Your visions were dismissed as imagination. Your sensitivity was deemed a weakness. Your rage was considered dangerous. And so you buried it all. You performed. You tried to fit in. You wore the mask. But your shadow never left. It waited. And every time you felt those intense surges of energy, those waves of emotion, those flashes of knowing, those moments where time bent and reality cracked open, that was your shadow knocking, not to destroy you, but to free you. Because here's the secret, your shadow holds the keys to your spiritual gifts. Your pain is the portal. Your rage is your soul roaring for truth. Your grief is the sacred river that washes away illusion. Your chaos is not dysfunction, it is raw, unprocessed creation energy. And when you learn to channel that energy consciously, you become unstoppable. Not because you've risen above the darkness, but because you've woven it into your power. You've stared into the abyss and said, "Teach me." And the abyss replied, "Now you're ready." Let's talk about rage. Yes, rage. The emotion that most spiritual teachings try to suppress, avoid, or bypass entirely. But rage is sacred. Rage is truth on fire. Rage is your soul screaming against injustice, against betrayal, against the lies you've been forced to live. And if you've been visited by sudden, violent waves of it, rage that seems to erupt from nowhere, it's not because you're broken. It's because your energetic system is processing something immense. Lifetimes of repression, generational pain, collective trauma. You weren't just chosen to carry light, you were chosen to burn away what no longer serves. And the fire of your rage, when channeled with awareness, becomes a laser of transformation. Not destruction for the sake of chaos, but destruction for the sake of truth. You become the storm that clears the air, the fire that purifies, the blade that slices illusion from its root. But rage alone isn't enough. It must be held. It must be honored. It must be directed by consciousness, not ego. This is where your spiritual discipline becomes essential. Because the truth is, power without presence becomes poison. And the shadow energy that moves through you, that wild raw force, is pure power. If you don't learn to contain it, it will consume you. But if you do, if you learn to move with it, to dance with it, to speak its language, it will begin to serve you. It will sharpen your intuition. It will amplify your manifestations. It will protect your energetic field like an ancient guardian, and it will awaken parts of your soul that have been dormant for lifetimes. Let me offer you something practical now, a method, a ritual. When the dark energy rises, when you feel that tightness in your chest, that pressure in your head, that restlessness in your body, don't run from it. Don't numb it. Don't distract yourself. Sit with it. Close your eyes, breathe deeply and say, "I am listening." Then ask the energy, "What do you need me to remember?" Sometimes it will speak in images, sometimes in feelings, sometimes in silence. But if you stay long enough, it will reveal something, a memory, a truth, a gift. And when it does, don't just think about it, move it, dance it, scream it, write it, channel it through your body like lightning through a wire. Don't try to make it pretty, make it real, because reality is where the alchemy happens. Alchemy isn't about turning lead into gold. It's about turning pain into power, turning shadow into light. And the dark chosen ones are the true alchemists of this age. We are not here to preach only love and light while ignoring the rot that festers beneath the surface. We are here to expose that rot, to transmute it, to build sacred temples from the ashes of illusion. And yes, that requires getting your hands dirty. It requires facing your shadow again and again until it no longer terrifies you, until it becomes part of your rhythm, part of your language, part of your presence. Until you realize that your shadow is not separate from your light. It is your light, concentrated and unrefined. Have you ever wondered why you've endured so much pain? Why your life seems to move in endless cycles of initiation, collapse, and rebirth? It's not random, it's training. The universe has been forging you in fire, calibrating your nervous system to hold sacred power. And now you're ready. Not just to survive, but to lead. To stand in your truth so fiercely that others feel safe enough to face theirs. To speak with such clarity that your words cut through centuries of programming. To walk into rooms and shift the energy just by being fully, unapologetically you. That's what happens when you channel your shadow. You don't just protect yourself, you elevate the frequency of everything around you. But here's the twist. As you rise in power, the tests will intensify. You will attract more projections, more illusions, more attempts to pull you back into outdated patterns. Why? Because the matrix, the system that feeds on fear, feels your frequency and panics. It tries to seduce you into ego. It sends people who mirror your unhealed wounds. This is where your discernment becomes your sword. You must learn to distinguish what belongs to you and what does not. You must know the difference between alignment and addiction, between truth and trauma bonding, between sacred rage and reactive anger. This is the work of mastery. You were not born to be perfect. You were born to be whole, and wholeness includes the dark. So now I ask you, what parts of yourself have you been avoiding because you were afraid of what they might reveal? What emotions have you labeled as wrong, too loud, too much? What memories have you buried because they were too painful to face? Those are the keys. That is where your greatest spiritual weapon lies. Not in the light you've already claimed, but in the dark you've been running from. It's time to go there, not alone, but with awareness, with tools, with the unshakable knowing that you are not broken. You are designed this way, you are coded for this work. You are not just a student of spirituality, you are a vessel of it, a force, a frequency, and your shadow is not a flaw, it is the forge. So here's your invitation. The next time dark energy rises, don't panic, don't resist it, don't label it as evil. Welcome it, greet it like an old teacher. Ask it, what are you here to show me? Then listen, not with your mind, but with your body, your breath, your presence. That is the beginning of channeling. That is the moment when you stop absorbing darkness and begin wielding it. And when you do, when you truly embody this, you stop fearing anything. You stop needing approval. You stop explaining your power. You simply become it, and your being becomes the transmission. People will feel it. They won't always understand it, but they will feel it. Some will be terrified, some will be healed, but all will be changed. That is the power of a dark chosen one who remembers who they really are. And if you felt these energies visit you again and again, it's not because they want to torment you. It's because they're waiting for you to stop rejecting them and start leading them. The world doesn't need more people pretending to be light. It needs people who've made peace with their shadow, who can walk through fire without flinching. That's you. That's what you came here for. In the next unfolding, we journey deeper. We begin to explore what it truly means to become a spiritual architect of reality itself. How to use your dark energies not just for survival, but for manifestation, protection, and divine influence. This is not about escaping or cleansing the shadow. It's about integrating it so fully that it becomes the foundation from which you create. We'll speak of building energetic boundaries that don't isolate you, but transmute the spaces around you, of moving through enemy energy without being touched, of shaping reality, not from fear or defense, but from embodied presence. If you're still here, still listening, still breathing with this truth, then you've crossed a threshold most will never even see. You've walked through fire. You've stood at the edge of yourself and chosen to look deeper instead of turning back. And now it's time to take the next step, not just as a carrier of dark energy, not just someone aware of it, not just a survivor of it, but as something more, a dark architect, a being who builds reality not from illusion, not from longing, but from the raw, primal, untamed energy of the shadow itself. Because here's the deepest secret of all, the one they've tried to hide from you your entire life. The shadow is not the enemy. It's the source code. When you stop fighting it and start co-creating with it, you gain access to a level of power that doesn't just shift circumstances, it rewrites destiny. Let's be very clear, this is not about manifesting cars, houses, or social media followers. That's surface-level magic. What we're speaking of here is structural transformation, the kind of power that reshapes timelines, bends emotional fields, and pulls revelation from chaos. This is about rebuilding spiritual blueprints, not just for yourself, but for the collective. Chosen ones, especially those of the dark current, are not here to play small. We are here to reconstruct the matrix. But in order to do that, we must first dismantle the false self, the egoic identity, the trauma shell, the ancestral mask we've worn just to survive. Because you cannot build a new world with old tools. And the most powerful tool you've been given, the one you were told to fear your whole life, is your own shadow energy. So what does it mean to build with shadow? It means you stop waiting. You stop waiting for life to give you permission. You stop waiting for the light to arrive. You stop waiting for someone to recognize you or rescue you. You remember, you are the storm. You realize that your darkness isn't a pit, it's a forge. And you step into that forge willingly, consciously, as a creator. Shadow energy is dense. Yes, it is chaotic, it is wild, but it is also the most malleable, potent, and responsive form of energy in existence. It is the raw clay of creation. While most people are terrified of it, you have the coding to shape it. That's why you've always been drawn to the edge. That's why you've always felt most alive in transformation, in rupture, in the liminal space between breakdown and breakthrough. You were never meant to be comfortable. You were meant to be creative, not just in an artistic sense, but in a primordial way. Creation as defiance. Creation as resistance to distortion. Creation as a sacred act of truth. To become a dark architect, you must ground yourself in a single, unshakable truth. Energy responds to identity. Not the identity you wear in public, not the name on your driver's license, but the vibrational identity that lives in your field. That is what the universe listens to. That is what the shadow obeys. So if you're still carrying an identity rooted in victimhood, in shame, in hiding, then no matter how much you visualize, your energy will emit confusion. But when you fully claim who you are, when you declare to the cosmos, I am a sovereign force of nature, I am a dark light, I am here to reconstruct reality, the shadow begins to respond, not from fear, but from recognition, because it remembers you. It remembers who you were before the world taught you to forget. And when your inner identity matches your frequency, you become a living command to the unseen. You speak and energies shift. You feel and timelines realign. You move and the field rearranges itself in your wake. But this level of creation requires something rare: resonance without resistance. It means you must be able to hold massive frequencies of intensity, chaos, grief, and rage without collapsing, without flinching, without trying to fix it. You must become the calm within the storm, not by avoiding the storm, but by mastering its language. This is why emotional regulation for you is not just a psychological tool, it is a spiritual weapon. Every time you feel a trigger and choose to breathe instead of react, you are anchoring a new frequency. Every time you sit with discomfort rather than numbing it, you are harvesting raw power. Every time you cry with full presence instead of hiding it away, you are unlocking energy that was buried deep within your tissues. And once that energy is released, it's no longer stagnant. It becomes usable. You can speak through it, shape through it, move with it. That is what it means to build with shadow. Let's talk about ritual now. Not the curated ones you see on social media, not the aesthetically pleasing altars or filtered affirmations. We're talking about the real ones, the raw ones. The rituals that look like screaming into a pillow until your chest is clear. The ones that look like dancing alone in the dark, eyes shut, as ancient grief rises through your bones. The rituals that look like writing truths you were never supposed to say out loud, then burning the page with reverence. These are not acts of drama. They are acts of frequency engineering, because emotion is energy in motion. And when you move it intentionally with presence, it becomes a sacred tool of manifestation. A ritual is not about candles. It is not about the aesthetic. It is about your willingness to show up for your shadow the way you've been taught to show up only for your light. It's about choosing honesty over performance, depth over polish, embodiment over appearance. Let's go deeper still. You've probably felt time and again like you don't belong in most spiritual spaces. You've been told to vibe higher, to let go, to stay positive, but none of that ever worked for you. Why? Because you weren't designed to float above life. You were designed to root into it, deeply, to hold both the light and the dark with equal reverence, to walk into haunted spaces, literal or emotional, and bring order not by banishing the darkness, but by reclaiming it. You belong to a lineage of spiritual warriors, mystics, and shadow walkers who have always known true power comes not from escaping darkness, but from mastering it. You are not a mistake. You are not too much. You are not broken. You are coded for this work, and the work is this: integrate the shadow, embody the truth, and build a new world from the ashes of the old one. So let's get practical once more. How do you actually build spiritual reality with shadow energy? You begin by identifying your emotional triggers, not as weaknesses, but as portals. Every time you feel triggered, you are being shown where your energy is leaking. Instead of reacting, pause. Breathe. Feel the sensation fully. Ask it, what are you protecting me from? More often than not, your shadow is holding on to pain that was never acknowledged. And once you witness it, validate it, it begins to soften. That softening is power. That softening is raw potential. Now take that energy and shape it. Use it in your rituals. Speak your affirmations not with surface cheerfulness, but with the voice of your shadow, truthful, guttural, unfiltered. Let it be heard. Let it be part of the manifestation process. Because when your shadow is aligned, your manifestations aren't just concepts, they become embodied frequencies. Let's go even deeper. Protection. Many of you have experienced psychic attacks, envy, spiritual warfare, and projections from others. You've tried all the tools, cleansing, shielding, positive affirmations, but here is the truth no one tells you. The most powerful protection is not found in defense. It is found in embodiment. When you are fully aligned with both your shadow and your light, there is nothing to attack. Because there is no hook, no gap, no insecurity for distortion to cling to. You become whole, and wholeness repels distortion. You don't have to fight, you simply stand. You speak your truth. You move with sovereignty, and energies not aligned with you will either evolve or leave as law. Now, let's talk about your mission. You didn't come here just to survive. You didn't come here to endlessly heal and float. You came here to lead, to build, to forge new systems of thought, energy, and reality. That mission might look like art, or coaching, or parenting, or simply sitting in stillness while others awaken in your presence. Whatever form it takes, your mission is real, and it requires all of you. Not just your light, not just your peace, but your grief, your fire, your depth, your ancient knowing. Stop waiting to feel ready. You are ready because you're still here, because you're still breathing, because the dark energies have visited you not to punish you, but to initiate you. And now the initiation is complete. You are not just a survivor. You are not just a seeker. You are a dark architect, a spiritual builder, a frequency shaper, a timeline walker, a soul who remembers that the shadow is not the opposite of light. It is the womb of light. And from that womb, you are meant to birth entire worlds. So go, build, speak, move, create, lead, not from fear, not from apology, but with the full weight of your darkness and your divinity combined. Because that is who you truly are. And the world needs you now more than ever. You have made it to the edge of the known. You've walked through storms, not with your eyes closed, but wide open. You felt the pain, the rage, the grief, the memories long buried, and you faced the truths others were too afraid to name. And now, here you are. You've crossed into the realm where few dare to go. Beyond the light, beyond illusion, beyond ego. And what do you find here? Not emptiness, not destruction, but pure potential. The raw, undiluted substance of creation itself, begging to be shaped by someone who remembers who they are. This is the realm of the dark chosen one, not the villain, not the outcast, not the martyr, but the original architect, the one who came not to be consumed by the dark, but to command it, to give it form, to make it sacred again. Because here's the truth, nothing in this universe is wasted. No energy is evil, no emotion is wrong. Every trauma, every wound, every fragment of shadow can be alchemized into power if you have the courage to face it. And you do. That's why you're here. You are the one they could not break, the one who felt every ounce of pain and still chose to rise, the one who looked beneath the surface, saw the rot, and did not look away. And now you are the one who has the capacity to rebuild from the inside out. You're not just here to awaken. You're here to reconstruct the frequency of reality itself. You carry codes in your DNA that have lain dormant until now. Codes that activate only when you stop resisting the shadow and begin to embody the full spectrum of your being. Let's talk about spiritual legacy. Because whether you remember it consciously or not, your soul is ancient. You've done this before, in other lifetimes, other realms, other dimensions. You have walked as the priestess, the oracle, the shaman, the warrior, the exile. You have spoken forbidden truths. You have challenged false gods. You have stood in silence as temples burned, not with fear, but with the knowing that your power could never be destroyed. It could only be remembered. And now, here you are again, in this body, in this lifetime, in this moment, feeling the darkness rise once more, not as punishment, but as a summoning. It is summoning you into your role, not one assigned by society, but one written into your soul contract. The role of the dark chosen one, the one who walks between worlds, the one who turns wounds into wisdom, the one who does not wait for the world to change, but becomes the catalyst for that change. So how do you begin? You begin by releasing the illusion that you must be healed to lead. You don't. What you need is to be honest. Honest about your scars, your rage, your grief, your power, because your truth is your transmission, and people are starving for truth, for depth, for reality. And you are a living gateway to that depth, but only if you stop hiding, only if you stop pretending that you're almost ready. You are ready now. The energies wouldn't have come to you over and over again if you weren't. They are not random. They are responsive. They are the universe whispering, "Wake up. You're not just a witness, you're the architect." So here is your final activation. Stop waiting for permission. Stop seeking validation. Stop asking to be seen. You are not here to be seen. You are here to see, to pierce the veil, to speak the unspeakable, to reclaim the forgotten, to walk into spaces saturated with distortion and bring clarity, not through force, but through the sheer gravity of your presence. Because when a dark chosen one fully embodies their truth, they don't need to speak a word. The frequency shifts, the air changes, reality recalibrates. You were never meant to have an easy path. Your emotions were always intense. Your relationships were always testing. But none of it was punishment, it was refinement. Refinement into a being who could hold the dark without being devoured, who could face projection without flinching, who could walk through fire and come out not burned, but illuminated. Because your fire doesn't destroy, it reveals. So the only question left is, what will you do now, knowing all this? Will you keep pretending to be small? Will you continue denying the energies that call you in the night? Or will you finally answer? Will you finally say, "Yes, I am here. I remember. I accept"? Because this is the moment. This is the point of no return. This is the quantum threshold where you stop being a seeker and become a creator, where you stop building rituals just to heal and begin to activate, where you don't just make people feel safe, you wake them up, where you don't just speak, you transmit. You become the embodiment of a new world, not a sanitized surface world of false light, but a deep, raw, embodied reality where light and shadow dance as one. This is what you came for. And if you felt these energies return again and again, it's because they've been waiting, not for someone better, not someone pure, just you. You with your scars, with your rage, with your grief, with your story. You are the vessel, you are the blueprint, you are the myth returning to form. So rise, not as someone who has all the answers, but as someone no longer afraid to be fully alive. Rise as someone who walks with shadow as an ally, not an enemy. Rise as someone who creates from soul, not ego. Rise as someone who knows the world was never meant to be saved, it was meant to be rewritten. And you are the pen, you are the page, you are the ink made of blood and stardust, you are the prayer whispered in the dark, you are the answer, you are the architect. Now go, build.